Hey, what's going on, creepers and geekers? Chris the Atari Creep here with an installment of pickups. Who would have thought this was going to happen? I didn't think it was going to happen, at least not this soon anyway, but I do have a bunch to get to. Let me put my coffee cup down. Oh, yeah. But yeah, aside from that, nothing's really changed. I still drink way too much coffee and babble on way too much. But yeah, I got a bunch of stuff that I'm happy to show you. I'm sure you've all seen it already. I've been posting it on Facebook and Instagram, but why not make a video about it? Because I haven't really been making videos. So, also, I'm pretty sure you've noticed there is no intro video or intro thing with music and pictures and such. And that is because I did a master reset on my phone and forgot to save it somewhere. Oops. So as I get things going, I might just have a brand new introduction. Start the page off fresh as if it were new. And hopefully that'll be coming around soon. But if not, you literally just got what you got. So rather than me sitting here and complaining about things, why don't we just get to what I've picked up? And that's pretty much it, guys. So, guys, well, we got quite a bit, in my opinion, to go through here. So let me just jump right into it. And this is probably... well, it's not probably, it is. I picked up these before I left Arizona to come to Massachusetts. Oh, I didn't turn the music on. Oh my God. Hope you can hear that. Let me turn it up a little. There we go. A little Castlevania Symphony of the Night for you. Alright, so shortly before I left, I was able to pick up some Crude. It's a pretty decent game. And you've seen this a couple of times, Frankenstein's Monster. I love this game. It's very interesting, plus the artwork is just incredible. And it was just one of those games that eluded me quite a bit, and I finally got my hands on it. A buddy of mine hooked me up. I took a bus from Boston to Arizona. I wanted to take the cheapest route and thought it would be neat to see the country. I've driven across, but you know, when you drive it, you don't really observe a lot of shit. And I thought it would be cool, but I knew I was going to need some stuff to pass the time, so I picked up a couple of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. And one of the first ones I got was Xevious. This is a Gauntlet and Rampage combo. We got Joust and Defender. And a Galaga and Galaxian combo cart. And I tell you what, these things saved my life that whole trip. Aside from not being able to see the GBA screen too well, I mean, you know, it is what it is. So I get here, and I get reacquainted with a few people or whatever. And the girl I'm seeing, she had told me before I came out here that the Atari that her and her brothers used as a child is still in their mom's basement, and we might be able to dig it out. And we went there, and it was in plain sight. We didn't even have to dig anything out. It was also next to a Tandy computer, which I might also grab. It had a few games, but yeah. So her mom just said, "Yeah, get it out of my basement." Let me center that a little bit better. There we go. Get it out of my basement. It just so happens to be a tele-games, which is my favorite of the 2600 consoles. It's the one I started out with. And you all know the history on that one. That one died and all that, blah, blah, blah. And I was happy to get my hands on this. But it also came with a ton of catalogs and instruction manuals. And there's a couple of Atari Forces in here. So I can add that to my big bag of paperwork, which I did keep, by the way. And what system would be complete without any games for it? It came in this nifty little case thing here. And you can see the titles. It's nothing mind-blowing, but pretty much all your basics are there. And the packing game is still there. This system, I guess, it has kind of an interesting history. At least to me it does. It was thrown away by one of their neighbors, and they picked it out of the trash, and I said, you know, it works. So, and they used it for a number of years, and now it was going to end up in the trash again, and now I'm going to give it life. And that's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. So let me put these aside. The next group of stuff I'm pretty excited about. After I got settled in here and I started working and got some funds, of course I was scouring Craigslist for stuff, and I came across this one deal that almost seemed too good to be true. And if you're on my Facebook or my Instagram, you've seen this already, and I put the price up there, but yeah, what can you do? So, I'm not going to discuss it too much now, but just pretty much show you the goodies. I was able to pick up this sexy little NES. And this is what I was really excited about, the Sega Master System. I was really bummed out when I had to get rid of my other one. And I was able to get those two for a good steal. The Master System came with both controllers and the light gun, of course, all of its, its hookups. The NES, unfortunately, only came with the light gun and all of its hookups. I did test it with a game, and it works. I just gotta get off my ass and get a couple of controllers. I found a local shop here, but I don't want to pay their price for the controllers. They're a little higher than what I would go for. So I might just hit up eBay for a couple of originals. But along with these came a couple of games. He handed me this Wheel of Fortune for the NES. And then hiding inside, I don't know if he knew it was there or not, but I found it when I got home, Mario 2. So that's pretty groovy. I got an empty Action Fighter case, so I'm going to be looking for that game. It's not a bad game either. And Enduro Racer also came with it. So that's a fun game. It's kind of a copy of Excite Bike with less bells and whistles, but it's still fun nonetheless. I mentioned a few minutes ago that I found a local gaming shop. It's in Salem, Massachusetts, called Game Zone. And I hung out with them for a little bit, looked around, and I found a few Master System games that I really did want to have in the collection to start off with. And they were able to work out a good deal. It turns out I have inadvertent history with the guy who owns that. He'd been there 30 years. He used to be a video game and video rental supply store. And the place I used to rent from here in Melrose, probably shouldn't have said that, but whatever, it was a place called Movies on Video. And he used to sell video games to them for rental purposes. So many of the games that I ended up playing and or buying off of them back in the day probably originally came from him. So I thought that was a pretty cool, full circle deal. But back to the games. I mean, you don't want to just stare at this and listen to me talk about history. I was able to get Hang On Astro Warriors, and you know my love for Astro Warriors. I did a whole video on it. This game is also one that has eluded me. There was a copy locally when I was in Arizona, but the guy just kept, it was just one of those weird things where he's like, do you want it? And I said, yeah. And I'd say, well, how much do you want for it? And he'd be like, well, how much do you want to give me? And eventually, I kept going back and forth that way. And eventually I was like, $10. And he was like, okay. But we never met up. And every time I would see him, he'd be like, So I don't know what his deal was. But I'm glad to have that. It's a pretty neat platforming game. It's pretty interesting. If you haven't checked it out, look it up online or get yourself a copy of it. It's not that expensive. It's a great game, though. And of course, you can't have a Master System without Fantasy Zone. And that's pretty much everything. The Atari came with 2 joysticks, a handful of set of paddles, and 1,000 wires. It even has, let me see if I can pull this out, because if any of you need this, I'm more than happy to send it to you. A Telstar power supply, which leads me to believe there might be a Telstar somewhere in that house, and if I can't find it, this is an extra power supply. So if anyone needs it, by all means, let me know. And I'll get it out to you somehow. But yeah, that's it. That's everything, guys. This coming week is Thanksgiving, so hope everyone has a great holiday with their friends, families, and loved ones. I hope you all eat way too much and don't drink as much. And if you do, don't drive. Come on, be safe. Accidents don't take holidays, and it's just stupid anyway. So I want everyone to have fun, be safe, and until next time, this is the Atari Creep signing out saying bye-bye.